Hello again, another week. I'm super excited to talk about the subject I chose this week. When I was reading in the textbook, I was going through all the different roles within the different micro, meso, and macro levels, and one really stood out to me, and I think it's super important, so that's why I decided to choose it, and that was the facilitator role. And I think the reason why I was so interested in it and why it caught my attention was the reason of the church and Come Follow Me, the program Come Follow Me, and how it really follows this idea of facilitation, especially for the teachers in Sunday school, and how we have changed our ways of teaching from just teaching and telling the students or learners what it is, to this facilitating kind of teaching where everyone is a teacher in a way, and the teacher is the facilitator. They kind of just lead the discussion and make sure it kind of stays on track and make sure that everybody has a voice. So to start off with, the news article that I chose, or that I found, was titled "Facilitation Skills Just Might Be the Best Kept Leadership Secret." And this article talked about how through time and even presently, when people are looking for leaders, facilitation skills is not the thing that they look for. When you think of leadership skills, just in a broad sense, you think of other things like conflict resolution, problem solving, different management skills, strategic thinking, but you don't often think about facilitation. And the article, or the news report, straight up said, one of the reasons why facilitation skills may not be acknowledged as readily as other leadership skills is that they're frequently misunderstood. And this article talked a lot about how facilitation skills are really needed these days, but because not a lot of people know what they are and how to use them, they're not readily used. And so they talked about how as time goes on, the need for facilitation skills is going to be more and more important, because everybody has a voice, and we kind of have seen issues with this in the recent past years, how people that don't have a voice tend to be left out. And so they talked about how facilitation was super important in having everybody participate and being the person that allows everybody to share their ideas. And they kind of came to the conclusion that leaders who understand how to invite people into a participatory environment and use the group energy to innovate fit well into today's context. The world calls for more inclusion and equity, and that tomorrow's leaders will need to be facilitators. So they talked about how as the world progresses and we get more and more technologically advanced, it's important that we are able to share our ideas and be the facilitators that allow everybody to participate. The article, the scholarly article I chose, was called "Helping Each Other, Peer Supervision Group with Facilitators of Mutual Aid Groups." And this was a study done by kind of observing how facilitators made an impact on groups. Mainly these groups were people that were struggling with something, or it was like an addiction recovery. But they talked about kind of two different areas of facilitation in these groups. The first was a group that had the same kind of struggle, and there was a facilitator, just like one. And their job was to help members consider and address the problems of one of the members by encouraging sharing and underlining the commonalities among other members. And even though each person was unique, they kind of had the same situation in a sense. So the facilitator in this situation was supposed to kind of invite someone to share something, allow them to talk, and then allow everybody else to share. And so it wasn't so much of a leader, but more of a person to guide the meeting. And the second kind of group setting that they studied was called peer supervision mutual aid groups. And there wasn't a specific facilitator in these groups, but more of everybody in that group was their own facilitator in a way. And their aim was to improve the members' skill as their own facilitator of in the mutual aid groups. The members of the peer supervision groups have somewhat common life and professional circumstances, and then experiment in the peer supervision group with reciprocity. So the whole idea of this kind of group was everybody has a voice, everybody shares, everybody reciprocates. So one person may be struggling, and the groups that they were in, they all had a similar situation. So if it was, like for example, abuse of drugs or addiction of drugs, now everybody has the same underlying story. And so when someone shares, people can share what they felt, what they have done to get out of that situation. And so it's kind of a reciprocal meeting in which there's not a leader, but everybody is a leader, and they work with each other to come up with a common end goal and help each other out to fulfill all their individual goals. And then kind of just the summary of the article. In the view of the facilitators, it says the facilitators explained that they did not want to bear the sole responsibility for identifying strategies for coping with the problems of group members, or making decisions regarding how to welcome new group members, or determining how to manage confidential information shared during the meetings. In all cases, the facilitators agreed that it is up to the group to decide how to address and handle these matters. So this article really focused and found the results that facilitators really helped the group meetings, and really helped just the actual members of the group the most, because each person had kind of a leadership role. They all knew that what they said was important and what other people said was important too. And so helping each other out help them understand that each person has an individual role. And since there are no direct leaders who know better, who is going to tell them what to do, they depended on each other. And because of that, they gained strength and confidence in themselves, which is super great. The code of ethics that I found that matched closely with this section is public participation in the social worker's ethical responsibilities to the broader society section. And it says social workers should facilitate informed participation by the public in shaping social policies and institutions. So, kind of going off what I said, it was important to facilitate instead of kind of just telling people what to do, what they think is best. And then just to end with a question for you guys to think about and answer. What are some of the best ways that you personally have been able to encourage participation and involvement from other people in a group setting without crossing boundaries and taking on role of a facilitator. So this might be in like a teaching setting or any group setting, but specifically in some setting that you weren't a leader or you weren't in charge, just kind of led the meeting. I'll leave you with that question, and I will see you guys next week.